Welcome to a brand new Cutter historical series. Sports Catastrophe is now kind of on the back burner. Now I'm doing a rehash of a famous series I did in 2019 called Cutter's What Ifs, when I go through what if moments for each franchise of the four major sports: baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. So this is the start of it. Baseball is first because baseball is in a off season right now, and the others are still played. So I can't say stuff at the time of this writing. But the fact of the matter is, first and foremost, is the fact that what do you get when you get a franchise that now has the most losses in a MLB regular season become pretty good. For 2024, this franchise lost 120 plus games, more so than the 1962 Mets, and they were an expansion team. But what if I told you that the Chicago White Sox actually were a very decent team and all that? What if I told you about White Sox history in a quick 2-minute video and explain what the what if is? Are you ready? Are you ready, boys and girls? This is the start of the Cutter What Ifs baseball series. Number 1. You can't put it on the board. You've got Jeff Diamond. You've got one man. You've got a hat, a bat, and that's definitely not all. You got the bleachers. Got it from spring to fall. You got a dog, a drink, and that umpire's call. What do you want? Let's play what if. Okay. Okay, Cutter, do some what ifs. Okay, Cutter, do some what ifs. To look at the Chicago White Sox, you have to understand their history and all that. They were one of the original 16 franchises in baseball, alongside the Yankees, the Browns, the A's, the Senators, the Tigers, the Tribe, the Red Sox, and the A's. I think I said that wrong. Nevertheless, the Chicago White Sox were a very good team. However, they were not as proud as till 1917 when they won the World Series. Well, they won the 1906 World Series over the Chicago Cubs, who should have won the World Series. But the fact of the matter was that the White Sox in 1917 won the World Series. Few people would have realized that it would be 88 years till the White Sox got their mojo back, and that was 2005. And yes, that is longer than the Curse of the Bambino by a few years. So the White Sox in 1919, everyone knows about the Black Sox and how 8 of them decided to conspire to throw the World Series for money because Charles Comiskey was such a tightwad. It's partially true. I mean, you have operating budgets, and you're just putting people on shoestrings just for your own greed. Unfortunately, the Black Sox scandal ruined the White Sox for many years, and it wasn't until 1959 they got back to the World Series and got taken up by the LA Dodgers in their second year of being in Los Angeles. So the White Sox struggled along in the 60s, 70s, and then in 1983, the Chicago White Sox won the AL West, would take on Baltimore in the ALCS. Unfortunately for ChiSox fans, the joy was ruined when Tito Landrum, of all people, hit a game-winning home run in the 10th inning of Game 4 against the White Sox to give the Orioles the trip to the World Series, in which they beat the Philadelphia Phillies. White Sox fans would be wondering about things. In the late 80s, the White Sox were just about ready to be dumped off to St. Petersburg or anywhere. They didn't want to vote for a new stadium, and at the 11th hour, Illinois government decided on June 30th of 1988 to finally decide, fine, we'll build a new stadium right across from old Comiskey Park, which will last 80 years. Most parks don't last 50. But yeah, Comiskey Park 2 was a thing of joy and all that. And the White Sox went with a new scheme, changing their look and changing their uniforms, and it worked. Like the White Sox were cooler in 91 and 92, but in 1993 they started heating up and all that. So anyway, after 93, they were in a tough playoff position in 1994. But the fact of the matter was that in 94, they were in a playoff position until the strike hit. They were fighting Cleveland for the division. The White Sox would have some playoff performances going nowhere. But in 2005, everything got together and they beat the Houston Astros in 4 games to win the 2005 World Series, finally quenching everyone's first. Unfortunately, since 2005, the White Sox have had some ups and downs and massive downs, especially in 2024 with the new record for most losses in a season by any major league team, American League or National League. So, why am I talking about the 1993 White Sox? Well, it's simple. The 93 White Sox were pretty much one of the best teams around, and the White Sox were getting good talent and all of that. So let's take a look at the 1993 White Sox and see how good they really were. So the 93 White Sox season, and I'm doing this off of Wikipedia because I like, yeah, they won 94 games, winning the AL West, 8 games ahead of the Texas Rangers. They would lose the ALCS in 6 games to the eventual World Series champion Toronto Blue Jays. And it'd be the last time the White Sox would be part of the AL West, as they moved to 6 divisions for 1994, and they were put in the AL Central, the newly formed Central. So, of course, this is the White Sox best chance. A lot of people said, what about 1983? Well, they did win the division by 20 games, but the White Sox of 83 won over a very weak AL West. The AL West was terrible. No team was above 500 other than the White Sox. So, all that. And besides, 93 was big because it was one of the first seasons I remember watching baseball. I was only 8 years old at the time. Not White Sox baseball, but like Blue Jays baseball, of course. But yeah, so in the offseason, they decided to sign Dave Stieb as a free agent with the White Sox, which was shocking because Dave Stieb was this great pitcher of the 80s for the Blue Jays, and injuries just ruined him. He was unhealthy for the 92 squad in their quest for the World Series. So he thought he could go, so he went to the White Sox for a year, which was shocking. And then they signed Ellis Burks from the Red Sox as a free agent. And it might have worked. So anyway, yeah, Comiskey Park, Ken the Hawk Harrelson, and Tom Paciorek being the guys in the booth and all that. Hawk Harrelson, legend in the White Sox booth from 1990 till 2021, I think. Anyway, 93, the White Sox won 94 games. Texas won 86 for second. The important thing to note is that the White Sox actually had a poorer home record than road record. Usually, you want to play at home and do well. Texas had 50 home wins, and Seattle had 46 ahead of Chicago. But yeah, the White Sox won 49 games on the road, so they didn't have to play it. No place like home, yeah. But when you look at their opening day lineup, you had Tim the Rock Raines, who 3 years earlier had been traded from Montreal to the White Sox, and he was still playing great. You have Joey Cora, a good prospect at second base. You have Frank the Big Hurt Thomas, who is coming to his own as a great first baseman, as a figure of the Chicago White Sox system. You have George Bell, former Blue Jay and Cub, by the way. People forget that George Bell was a Cub and then got traded to the White Sox. In the exchange, Sammy Sosa went to the Cubs. That was the trade that sent Sosa to the Cubs. So yeah, George Bell was still hitting balls and all that. Blue Jay fans would be pissed. Robin Ventura at third base would be a good guy, Rockin' Robin. Unfortunately, Rockin' Robin would also try to rock Nolan Ryan with a pitch after Nolan Ryan plunked him. Ventura went in, but Nolan Ryan put Ventura in a headlock and threw punches at him. Ellis Burks in right field, the free agent signing, looked pretty good. Lance Johnson, the man who could do doubles and triples with the team. Ron Karkovice behind the plate. Ozzie Guillen at shortstop, the future manager of the White Sox. And Jack McDowell, Black Jack McDowell, who was coming to his own as a pitcher. So the White Sox had their best mark against Minnesota at 10-3. They were 6-6 against the Blue Jays. Back when everyone played 12 games against the same team, against the team, even if it's out of your division. Um, in the year, Mike LaFalliere was signed as a free agent with the White Sox because Carlton Fisk was rolling back in years, was starting to retire. Dave Stieb was released by the White Sox May 23rd, 1993. So Steve only lasted a month with the White Sox. It would be 5 years till he went back to the major leagues and had a comeback with the Blue Jays. I remember watching Dave Steve one time when the Jays played the Yankees in that famous 1998 game that the Yankees got beaten 9-3, and that was the '98 Yankees that were called one of the greatest teams of all time. Carlton Fisk would soon be released by the White Sox June 1993, especially after he set the record for most games by a catcher. Then the White Sox picked up Tim Belcher, a pitcher from the Reds, for Johnny Ruffin and Jeff Pierce. No big deal. And then the White Sox decided to trade Bobby Thigpen to Philly for Jose De Leon. And they also traded Don Paul to the Phillies. So Thigpen and Paul would actually be part of the Phillies in the '93 playoffs and all that. Yeah, Bobby Thigpen, who had the saves record. When you look at the roster, you got Wilson Alvarez, great pitcher, Jason Bear, Alex Fernandez, Roberto Hernandez, the closer, Kirk McCaskill, Canadian from Capital Casing, Jack McDowell, Scott Radinsky, Dave Steve, wore number 10. Really? Didn't wear like 38? And Thigpen number 37. Catchers during the season, Carlton Fisk, before basically being supplanted by Ron Cartwright and Michael Lavalier, who came from the Pirates. Joey Cora, Craig Rayback, Ozzie Guillen, Frank Thomas, Robin Ventura as infielders. Ivan Calderon coming in as a batter. George Bell, the former Blue Jay. Ellis Burks. Bo Jackson, who made one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. 91, he had that injury against the Bengals in the playoffs. And then Bo had a few years to in an artificial hip. People thought he couldn't play sports anymore, but man, he had that big home run against the Yankees in the Chicago home opener against the Yankees on April 9th, 1993. Not to mention that was my 8th birthday. He was back. Lance Johnson, Dan Pasqua was in the outfield. Tim Raines and Steve Sachs even played in the outfield. Former Dodger and Yankee icon. Gene Lamont was the manager. So in April they went 13-9. May they were 11-14. June 15-9. July 5 games above 500. August 5 games above 500. September 5 games above 500. And 3 games above in October. Of course, in the playoffs, the Blue Jays would take care of them quite honestly. Game 1 and 2, they got their butts handed to them by the Blue Jays. Blackjack McDowell was not the AL Cy Young guy. And in game 2, they had the bases loaded against Stewart in the 8th inning, but couldn't score a run. They went to the Sky Dome. Alvarez beat Hagen, and then Belcher beat Stoudemire. And then it was Guzman versus McDowell again, and somehow the Blue Jays won 5-3 in game 5. And then in Chicago, a couple nights later, Dave Stewart beats Alex Fernandez. Dwayne Ward picks up the save. So you have a lot of things going on right here. Man, the postseason, the '93 ALCS, and all that. Bo Jackson was even given the AL Comeback Player of the Year award and the Tony Giuliano award for best comeback. Jack McDowell went to the All-Star game as a reserve. Frank Thomas went to the All-Star game as a reserve. Jack McDowell was the Cy Young winner, aka the best pitcher in the AL, and Frank Thomas was the best MVP in the AL, was the most valuable player. And Gene Lamont was named Manager of the Year. But after that, here's look at that. So the rules are simple. The '93 White Sox in this what if actually beat the Blue Jays and will face the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. How will it go? Well, we'll find out. So this is what we are here. MLB Sim matchup. So it's the '93 Phillies and the '93 White Sox. We're gonna do tradition and the main lineups for both teams. And since the Blue Jays were the '93 leaders, like they won in '93, Well, they hosted Game 1 of the World Series. We're gonna go traditional and go with the White Sox hosting Game 1 of the World Series. So it will be Curt Schilling, who started Game 1 in real life in the World Series against Blackjack McDowell, who the White Sox probably would have had. So we're at home game, first game, and it will be the 93 White Sox win 10-8, scoring 10 runs in the third inning. The Phillies do score 2 runs in the second as Morandini hit a ground ball single to score Hollins and Lenny Dykstra single to score Duncan. However, the White Sox scored 10 runs. Bases were loaded for Curt Schilling. Well, Curt Schilling unlocked a wild pitch, and Frank Thomas was up. Then Thomas hit a 2 RBI single. Ron Karkovice hit a single to score Thomas. They went with a new pitcher, Davis. And then Guillen grounds to third base, getting the force at second, but they avoid the double play to score Burks. And then George Bell hit a 3-run home run to right center. Back, you kid, put it on the board, yes! Obviously, the 93 White Sox, if you look on the board, did not have, like, Don Paul wasn't playing for the Phillies at the time, but yeah, anyway. So anyway, Tim Raines actually got plunked with the bases loaded to score Lance Johnson, and Ellis Burks walked to make it 10-2. However, Morandini hit an RBI double, and Dykstra hit an RBI single in the fourth to make it 10-4. And then John Kruk line flew out to center field for a sac fly. Schwartz came in the game, and 2 bases loaded walks to Dalton and Hollins just did not work out. 10-7. Then the Phillies made it 10-8 as Incavilla hit a single. However, Roberto Hernandez came in, Johnson fumbled. Dalton got to first base. Hollins popped out. Duncan lines out, and Morandini singled, but the extra strikes out swinging, and the White Sox are 1-0. Jack McDowell pitched 6 and 3 innings for the win. Schwartz, Paul, Bolton, and Roberto Hernandez were there. The Phillies, Curt Schilling only went 2 in at first. Mark Davis, 2/3 of an inning. Jose De Leon, 3 innings, and David West, 2 innings. At least he didn't get the infinity ERA. So, on to game 2. Oh, sorry. Incorrect. Because game 2 is Terry Mulholland versus probably Wilson Alvarez, because it's in Chicago. So game 2 saw the White Sox win a traditional game, 2-1. The first run was scored when George Bell hit an RBI single to score Ellis Burks. Dave Hollins in the fourth hit an RBI double to score Incavilla. Ventura grounded a single, scoring Lance Johnson in the fifth. The Phillies had the bases loaded in the sixth, but Stalker and Kruk both struck out. They had first and third for the Phillies before Mario Duncan popped out the first. And then the ninth when Hernandez pitched, Incavilla flew out to deep left. Eisenreich singled, but Darren Dalton hit it to a 3-6-3 double play. Alvarez went 6 innings for the win. Jeff Schwartz and Roberto Hernandez came in. The Phillies, Terry Mulholland went 7 innings, didn't do so well. David West did well. He didn't give up a run. So off we go to game 3, and it would be Alex Fernandez versus the real game 3 starter, Danny Jackson. Game 3 sees the White Sox win 12-8. Phillies were up 7-0. Incavilla hit a 3-run home run off of Fernandez to make it 3-0 after Dykstra and Stalker were on base. Then they kept going. Stalker hit a laser beam for 2 RBI doubles, scored Danny Jackson and Lenny Dykstra. Well, Jackson was on first. John Kruk would hit an RBI single to score Stalker. Chamberlain would hit an RBI single to score Kruk. And, they took out Fernandez to go with McCaskill, Canadian. White Sox in the fourth. Tim Raines flew out to right field and scores Lance Johnson on a sac fly. Ellis Burks flies out to left center to score Ventura, so 2 sac flies. And then Ozzie Guillen hit the only hit was a single to score Frank Thomas to make it 7-3. Phillies got a run with Chamberlain's RBI double to score Stalker, and then Ventura flies out to deep right field to score Lance Johnson, 8-4. But in the sixth, the White Sox put up 8 runs. Duncan makes a throwing error to score Tim Raines. Cora hits a laser beam to score both Burks and Karkovice. Bo Jackson becomes a pinch hitter for McCaskill. David West comes in. Jackson walks, and then Ventura hits an RBI double score. Joey Cora and Lance Johnson. They intentionally walk Frank Thomas. Bases loaded, but Ellis Burks hits it. Bases clearing double. Make it 12-8. And that's your score. Well, Bolton came in to pitch. And then Hernandez came in with the bases loaded to get Stalker and Kruk. Danny Jackson went 5 in the first third. David West with that ERA, terrible. Only the third. Larry Anderson, Roger Mason, and Jose De Leon finished up. The 93 White Sox, McCaskill came in after Fernandez got the win. Schwartz, Paul, Bolton, and Hernandez. So at 3-0, we go to game 4. And I think it was Tim Belcher who would pitch game 4 against Tommy Green. Game 4 sees the White Sox sweep the Phillies 5-3. As Wes Chamberlain hit an RBI double. Mario Duncan hit RBI single score Chamberlain, make it 2-0. Ron Karkovice hit it, line drive home run to right field. You could put it on the board, yes. Then Incaviglia hits one to center field. This one's out of here. Home run, Peter Incaviglia. However, in the 7th, Ozzie Guillen hit it, double to score Tim Raines. Bo Jackson with runners on second and third was a pinch hitter for Belcher. Drew a walk. David West comes in, but Lance Johnson walks. And then Ventura hits a single to score Guillen and Bo, make it 5-3. And then the bottom 9, Fernandez came in. Hollins hit a single. Duncan grounded a double play. Ricky Jordan came in to pinch hit for Anderson, and he lined out to short. And just like that, the 1993 White Sox would have swept the Phillies aside in 4 straight games, proving themselves to be quite the catch and making sure that Philly fans know who they were. So thanks for watching this first part of the What If series. Hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.